Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Imam Sahib says that the blessed month of Ramadan has dawned upon us and we are enjoying its shade, and we are trying to take full benefit of this springtime of the spiritual world. And in this regard, the series of Dars lectures that are usually presented, Imam Sahib wishes to present the next part of that. Imam Sahib says that we observe that whenever a person is about to do something important, or he is about to embark on a journey or some other important task, then he always naturally makes some preparations for that. And this preparation is essential, and if it is good, then the end result is good, it is successful. And if the preparation is not good, then the result is not good either. So when we keep this in mind, look for the preparations with regards to Ramadan that we have to perform. And so the first thing is we should make an intention and a resolve that we are going to try our best to make full use of this month as much as possible. And Imam Sahib says in this regard, obviously we recite the Holy Quran, and more importantly is the offering of Salat, which we do in the entire month, but especially in this month we have to pay special importance to this. So we should study the Hadith, which gives us guidance on how to offer the Salat properly. And in order to offer the Salat properly, we must it is essential to perform the ablution, and it has been called Miftahus Salat in Hadith, which Imam Sahib is saying that just as a key is required to open a lock and then to enter into a home or a building, then in the same way, ablution is the key to Salat. So Imam Sahib is saying that Salat is not offered just by standing up and starting. One has to make the proper preparations before it. But with this, we should try to understand how this should be performed properly, and this is by offering the ablution. And this is an action that our beloved Lord and Master, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, has not only explained to us through his practice, but he has described them to me in a very clear manner. And when we look at the traditions, we find numerous traditions in this regard. And in today's hadith, Imam Sahib says that he wishes to explain certain things to do with the ablution, because this is Miftahus Salat, that is the unlocker of Salat. If the ablution is not performed properly, then the Salat will not be able to be performed properly either, and vice versa. So about the obligation of there are many ahadith, there are many traditions, and they have been combined in different books and in different manners. So if from these, Imam Sahib says he's going to select a few traditions which he will expound upon. And in these ones, Hazrat Usman bin Affan who is related to have asked for water, and then he washed his hands 3 times, and then he took water from it with his right hand, held it in his right hand and rinsed his mouth with it, and then he washed his nose 3 times, and then he washed his face 3 times, and then he washed his arms up to his elbows, and then he cleaned his feet up to his ankles. And in this way, after finishing the performance of the ablution, he said that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said the person who offered their ablution in this manner as to how I performed mine, and then keep away from any sinful thoughts, and then he offers the Salat with full sincerity, then all of his sins are forgiven. Let us look at this again, and let this informs us as to how important ablutions are. It must be performed properly, and we should not just touch our hands to water or something and think that we have done the ablution properly. Imam Sahib is saying that I have seen some children and also some adults who perform their ablution in around a minute, whereas if you look at this tradition, which Imam Sahib says that I wish to repeat how we should do our ablution properly, and this is, Imam Sahib says that, as I have said, this is reported by Hazrat Usman bin Affan Radhiyallahu anhu, or is something that he performed. So he asked for some water. Obviously water is important, and then so first he washed his hand 3 times, and then he put some water in his right hand and rinsed his mouth with it, and then he cleaned his nose with the water, and then he washed his face 3 times, and then washed his arms up to the elbows 3 times. And so this order must be remembered. Then he ran his wet hands over his head, and then he washed his feet. And Imam Sahib is saying it's important to include ankles in that. And after completing this, the ablution in this manner, then Hazrat Usman Rizan said that all of this that I have done is because this is what the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, that a person who performs their ablution in this manner, that like I have performed my ablution, and then keeps his mind free of all sinful thoughts, and then he prays with full sincerity, then all of his sins are forgiven. Imam Sahib says that all the different parts of ablution has been mentioned so clearly in this tradition that there is no room left for doubt, and nothing is not left unexplained. We understand it completely. So this is something Imam Sahib said that sometimes people regard as a superficial matter, and they think that we can just very quickly run hands over their face, etc., and they think it is done. This is not correct. Imam Sahib saying that this is ablution is like a foundation for salat, and if a foundation is weak of a building, then that building is going to be weak as well. So to try and do it quickly, and Imam Sahib saying that he doesn't want to mention any other tradition today. He wishes to emphasize the importance of this by repeating that this is the lock that opens salat. So it is very important for us to do this in the proper way. It is our responsibility, and we must do it in a very careful way, and we should follow what Hazrat Usman bin Affan who says in this tradition, and do it in a proper manner. And then the Hazrat Usman Lizanhu, in order to make this, to illustrate to people that this is how the Holy Prophet ﷺ used to do his ablutions, and he says that this is how he offered his salat, performed his ablution in front of us. Imam Sahib says that the elder people should perform ablution in front of their children so that they learn it as well. Imam Sahib says that once in a children's class with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih IV, Imam Sahib was called by Huzur that he should perform the ablution in front of the children. So Imam Sahib says that he had the honor of presenting this in front of the children and in front of Huzur, and Huzur liked that, and Huzur said that this is how he showed the children that this is how you should all offer your ablutions. Imam Sahib says that parents should wish that their children should offer their ablution in this manner, in this way. They should themselves demonstrate it in front of them. Imam Sahib saying that even if one is missing the salat, it's very important to complete the ablution first. Obviously, you should try to start it beforehand so that you can have plenty of time to perform the ablution completely and then go to salat. So but remember that this is a key of salat, and if this key is performed properly, then we will be able to offer a proper salat as well. May Allah enable us to do so. Ameen summa ameen.